Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce. Joyce, it is almost midnight here on the East Coast. We just watched the Emmy Awards. What a time.
That's it.
That's it. And that's it. We'll see you next year.
Well, it's almost midnight, which means it'll be Tuesday, September 13th, and that's Jean Smart's birthday.
Oh, wow. And an Emmy winner, Jean Smart.
And yeah, she's now a 2-time Emmy winner for Hacks. So
one of the many repeat Emmy winners, Joyce, which ended up being a theme for this year, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't know. Where do we begin? I don't know.
Well, we could begin with the show, I guess. If you're just watching this and you don't know what the Emmys are, let me explain it to you like Oprah Winfrey did. They're a television awards, Joyce, that they give out to honor the best. Yes. And they honor the best of TV. It's a great moment. Television's biggest night is what they call it. So big that NBC decided to air football on Sunday night and move the Emmys to Monday night, it seems.
I hear they've done that before.
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
That's how big of a night it is for television. No. So yeah, the show was, here it was, Succession wins best drama, Ted Lasso wins best comedy series, White Lotus wins best limited series. Those are the three favorites, I feel like, when we were doing nominations and the nominations were announced, and then I convinced myself that Ted Lasso would not win, and I was wrong. And I think a lot of us had this wrong. Joyce, you and I both went 16 for 25 in our predictions.
Incredible.
Way to go. And we both missed comedy series. I think, did you have Abbott also, or did you switch to Hacks?
No, I haven't had Hacks in like a month.
Okay.
No, I had Ted for like 1 week.
Right.
And then after creative arts, I switched to Abbott. So go me.
So that was like, those are the top line. And then all the acting winners we'll talk about too. A lot of the repeat winners were like, we're in categories where you think, oh, there was a chance for an upset. So like drama actress, Zendaya ended up winning, I think deservedly, for Euphoria, but there was a big push, I think, for Melanie Linsky for Yellow Jackets, and it felt like she was going to win, and she had the momentum, and you almost got the sense maybe she thought she was going to win when you watched the show, or like, Jason winning Best Actor in a comedy series over Bill Hader, over Steve Martin and Martin Short. Even Jason Sudeikis said he was surprised. I didn't actually think that was like faux humble. I think he actually thought he was probably not going to win, even though he won last year. But they ended up just repeating a lot of winners.
Yeah, and I mean the Ted win, like we talked about this last week when we did our predictions. Like I just swapped like Abbott and Ted. I kept Ted in second because I felt like even though it didn't win anything in creative arts, it's still the most nominated show. It has 20 nominations, and it's the reigning champion, and it has the most visibility. Like they clearly still like the show. It just increased in its acting nominations. So it just proved tonight like it was as strong above the line as Succession was.
Yes, I think it was absolutely comparable to Succession in the strength, and people still really love it. Even if season 2 aired a year ago, even if it's like was more polarizing as a season, I could see why Jason won beyond just like a name check, because I think he actually was maybe better in season 2 than he was in season 1. If he won for season 1, then he should win for season 2. I guess you could go with that logic. And Brett Goldstein again winning for season 2 when we felt he won for season 1 because of season 2. Then he went through season 2 for season 2. One directing, which was a big surprise, I would say, for us, because we both had Bill Hader.
The directing thing. So yeah, I'll get to the Barry situation in a second, my beloved Barry. But yeah, so last year I predicted Hacks to win writing and directing over Ted. Ted did not win either category last year, and it had 3 directing nominations last year and 2 in writing last year. I don't think it was ever winning writing, because Hacks went on to beat it at WGA.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that, and it didn't win again this year. Quinta Brunson won. This year again, it's 1 nomination, writing and directing. So I did feel like Ted could win directing because it had the 1 nomination. I do feel like if it had 1 directing nomination last year, it would have won easily.
Yeah.
And so the thing was like, yeah, I've been on like obviously the 710 North train this whole time for my guy. And with like Abbott seemingly coming on strong, and it did walk away with 3 big wins this year, and it missed a directing nomination. So it did kind of feel like it like that could win series and something else could win directing. Because the other thing is, if directing doesn't go to the series winner, it usually goes to the series runner-up, which last year was clearly Hacks.
Right.
So like that was the case where I felt like Bill Hader could still win directing. But no, it's just Ted for both because it was the front runner yet again. It just obviously again proved last year it would have won if it had one nomination. So
so we'll talk about the show. The show was not great, I would say. It wasn't like a total disaster. It wasn't like Oscars 2022, but it was not great. It was like almost instantly forgettable. We were talking about this before we started recording. Like what even happened on the show? There were so few memorable moments.
I like truly have no idea, and I have no desire to rewatch any of it.
It felt like a weird mix of like failed bits, hack comedy, and commercials in the show, like integrated marketing. So there's a Kia ad.
Well, yeah, there was an intermittent Kia ad,
and just like ads for NBC shows. The Jake Lacey Peacock show that's coming. They ran an ad for that.
They forced him to read a script for that.
It just felt like a lot of that, and then like so much wasted time that they ended up like needing for the speeches, because then all the big awards they pushed to the end of the show, and they're mostly just rushing off the winners. So like everyone had limited time by the end of the show.
I mean, like that always happens when like they're trying to wrap it up by 11. But the way they were, it was just like poorly paced, because it wasn't like the show was running long on its own because everyone's speech was long. It was because they had these nonsense montages for no reason. Like, why do we need that drama montage, that comedy montage?
It was so strange.
That medical drama montage, just of The Good Doctor and Grey's Anatomy.
So basically the montages were, here are shows that are popular that we didn't think to nominate. So it was like Yellowstone.
They didn't do one for limited series.
Because nobody cares about limited series, I don't think. And seemingly the Emmys didn't really care about it either, because they just watched White Lotus and just called it a life.
But like, be consistent. If you're going to do it for 2 genres, do it for all.
But I just kept watching and I was like, what is who is the audience? Like, who do they think the audience is watching? Like, we talk about this with the Oscars. I feel like it's even more so with the Emmys, which is a limited audience compared to the Oscars. Who is watching this show? Who are they programming it to? And I was like, I don't need to see a montage of shows that I watch. I already watched those shows. Yeah. I'm already watching the Emmys. Like, who is this for?
If anything, just play that montage in the beginning, like to kick it off before like Kenan comes on, I
will say Kenan Thompson was, I thought, a pretty solid host. I'd give him like a B for what the material he had. When he was able to be funny, he was funny. But they opened the show with this song and dance routine that was so bad. And I was like, if anybody other than Kenan was hosting, this would be absolutely calamitous, and Twitter would have like shut off because people were so upset about it.
Charity. I was like, what is happening?
Like, I was waiting for it to be a goof. And then it wasn't a goof. They were literally doing like interpretive dance to the Friends theme.
But then it went on for so long. And you know what it reminded me of? This is totally inside baseball because very few people can relate to this. But at TCA in the ballroom, like in between panels on CBS Day, they play CBS theme songs in the ballroom nonstop. It's like NCIS, Survivor, Amazing Race, Criminal Minds, just like on a loop. That's what it reminded me of. Like they were just playing these theme songs.
It was so bad. And like we said this in the live show, Joyce. There was a live show with these that you could probably watch. If you
I don't know why people would watch us twice, but sure.
They ended up like that wasting so much time. The first award is Michael Keaton, who went way over on his speech, but like, God bless Michael Keaton, let him do whatever he wants, I guess. And then after that, it was just everybody just gets cut off, and they were so behind, it felt like. And between that and like the forced banter, the ads for Kia, the announcer Sam Jay, I thought was like is very funny, but not like needed necessarily.
Yeah, that was not great, Bob.
Yeah, definitely not great Bob Jiff moment. Just so much of it was weird. The setup I thought was strange. So this year the Emmys decided they wanted to be the Critics' Choice Awards, so they just set up tables seemingly.
I mean, they had tables last year, but it was more limited last year because they were still worried about COVID last year.
Right now, nobody cares about COVID except Bill Hader.
Bill Hader given an Emmy for wearing a mask.
And then like nobody else cared about it or even mentioned it. I don't even, was it even mentioned once on the broadcast? I mean, last year Seth Rogen got up there and was like, why are we doing this?
Lauren referenced
Oh, he referenced COVID. Yeah. He was like, we had this thing in New York that maybe you heard of. And everybody was like, haha, Lauren, we don't have COVID out here.
But yeah, there were too many tables this time. Too much birthday, too much tables.
Too many tables and too many ways to like, it took like one of the things I was like, this is just again, like, I'm not Joyce, I don't know if you know this. I do not produce television, nor do I direct television. So I'm not an expert in the field.
That's breaking news to me.
But I have watched television. And I would say one of the things I thought was rough about the way this Emmys was structured is because they only had like 30 seconds to do speeches, basically, the clock started almost immediately when they were announced. And by the time people made it through the very narrow causeways of the tables and like got up there, they were already done. I mean, like Jason Sudeikis, when they got up there for Ted Lasso, there was like 40 people up on stage and he's like, oh, we're wrapping up. Like they were already like in the countdown mode. And I was like, I don't necessarily need to hear Jason Sudeikis thank people for Ted Lasso season 2, but I was like, you really had no time to do anything. It was just very weird.
And I was thinking, I was like comparing it to last year because last year's show was way better produced and its opening was better too. Like they had like the sing-along last year, which was a lot of fun, you know. Yes. And it was also a tribute to Biz Markie. And Cedric the Entertainer was also a good host last year too.
I actually think Cedric was funnier than Keenan. I mean, I think he
was a lot funnier.
To be funny, but
and yeah, like last year, they let winners speak, including Scott Frank, as we recall.
I think Scott Frank just oh no, he's still going, Joyce. I'm sorry. He had one more. He had one more person to thank.
It's going on 51 weeks now. So, yeah. And yeah, like it was just a lot better produced last year, and yeah, this year was just very like roughshod, and like the opening number felt like they were just kind of delaying coming up with an opening. And they're just like kind of tossing out ideas. And then I was like, oh shit, we have a week.
And
let's just do this.
Even if like, we've done a lot of, Joyce, we've done a lot of rewatching old Oscars, and the Billy bit of singing the songs to like the Oscar songs, he did start that as a goof, like kind of like, you know, we're not going to do like a tired montage or like a song and dance number. And then he does the song and dance number. It's like, Billy's in on the joke and it's funny. This was just played completely straight. I felt like there was I was waiting for like a twist and there was no twist.
No, they were just dancing.
It was very odd.
These theme songs. So yeah. And then like, were there any other bits? Oh, I mean, I love the Kenan and Kel reunion.
Great. So I thought that whole section was real. So like, it's interesting. Like I actually enjoyed, so I think Kenan was funny when he got to do his monologue about like 45 minutes into the show, just what you want. Come back, the host, after a couple of words, let the host do his monologue to kill the momentum of giving out awards. Great production there. But his monologue was really funny. He got a bunch of digs in on Netflix, which I'm sure Netflix absolutely loved.
And one killer Showtime joke.
The great Showtime joke about Yellow Jackets, and it was scary because nobody can watch it or nobody knows where it is. Very funny. Good stuff there. And then I love that. So then that bit with Kel, you mentioned, like from Kenan and Kel and Good Burger, it preceded by a bit with Kumail Nanjiani where he was the bartender, and I thought that was actually quite amusing as well. Kumail had great.
That went on too long.
It went on too long, but I gotta say, him breaking the bottles, good prop work, really good prop work, very funny. And Sudeikis taking the dollar out.
There,
I was in on that. I was like, Kumail is funny. I mean, the funny thing is, a lot of the people who were the best suited for like the banter or anything that was like required some bit of levity were all the comic people. So like we talked about like on the live show here, but Steve Martin and Martin Short and Selena Gomez were absolutely hilarious. Definitely should host one of these award shows. But that bit was great. And I thought Kenan and Kumail and then Kel was a great bit. I thought Seth Meyers and Amy Poehler were really funny. BJ Novak and Mindy Kaling, really funny. Everyone else just deadly, basically.
It's just let them, if they're gonna do the thing where they read the nominees already and then bring out the presenter, just have them read the winner.
Well, that was the other thing that was weird too, right? They would do the nominees first and then have them come out and do.
They've done that before. They did that 4 years ago when Lauren produced it. When Michael Che and Colin Jost hosted, if you recall, they did that, and they did that to like streamline it. I don't mind it, but it was just like, yeah, the banter was just bad. in all
Not great.
90% of the situations. And yeah, like I like the Mindy and BJ stuff.
That
Amy and
was really
Scott
funny.
always good together.
They're
So
really funny.
yeah, like when he hosted the last time it was on a Monday on NBC in 2014, he brought her up and they just read like jokes to intro Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson.
Great. So funny. I'm a big Seth fan and I love him and Amy together.
I mean, he should have won a Variety Talk, as we know. So
obviously. A contentious moment was Jimmy Kimmel, Joyce, laying down.
I didn't care. Whatever, it's fine.
And Quinta Brunson won, and people were very offended that Quinta Brunson had to like give her lovely acceptance speech for writing while Jimmy Kimmel was doing a bit. I think they're actually seemingly friendly in real life.
And she's been on Kimmel at least once.
Right.
And like it's fine. Like
I will say
really dumb things.
I will say, as it was happening, I was like, this is going to make people mad, and they should have actually thought of this beforehand, because I think the optics are pretty poor. And I was like, Jimmy Kimmel usually seemingly is a little smarter, more aware of those things, because I think he is hyper aware of like what the discourse is going to do, but maybe he just didn't care. And it was a funny bit, because before Quinta won, I thought Will Arnett was like really funny. He was very amusingly selling that bit, but that was a viral moment, but maybe not the viral way you want.
It reminds me of the Oscar moment with the seat filler situation.
Yes, exactly.
And people like not understanding what's happening.
Yeah, exactly the same. That was when Amy Schumer made fun of Kirsten Dunst as a seat filler, so she could.
So Quinta will just clarify everything on her Instagram stories now.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, if it's possible, she could have also. I mean, who knows? We'll see. That we're recording this in well after midnight, so we'll see what the daylight brings for all of these people. But so that was like maybe a jeers moment. But if we want to do a cheers moment, Joyce, to think of like TV Guide, remember TV Guide, cheers and jeers, was that a thing?
Yeah, in the print.
Yeah, remember print magazines?
Remember when it used to be like yay big?
It's like really small. It was good.
I do have a fun TV Guide story. I don't know if we want to waste time on that right now. So
we can go ahead and let's do it.
No, people are just gonna skip this part. I'll timestamp it. You can skip this.
Okay, go ahead. We'll skip ahead if you don't want to hear this good story.
So my college essay was about Friends, the TV show, to which Keenan did interpretive dance tonight.
Yes.
And my
unforgettable.
Yeah, my AP Lit teacher, edited it and everything. So that was like obviously in the fall of the school year. And then way later, like towards the end of the school year in like June, basically, I was like handing in a book. And then she was like, did you watch it? Oh no, this was May. So yeah, so she was like, did you watch it? I was like, oh my God, was I supposed to watch something last night? I had no idea what she was talking about. And she was like, my hair gets like that too in humidity. And then I realized she was talking about Friends, because the finale was the night before, and it was one in Barbados when Monica's hair gets super frizzy because of the humidity. And I was like, oh yeah, it was really funny, huh? And then a couple of weeks later, she gives me like one of her TV guides that like she got like her subscription. It had like her dress on it with like the label and everything, with Friends on the cover.
Wow.
So I think it's probably still in like my parents' house, but it was like the little one. So yeah,
that's awesome.
But it's an like artifact now. So yeah, TV Guide.
Love it. So a cheer, Joyce, would have been Sheryl Lee Ralph winning.
Yes.
We had talked. That was a pretty competitive category. We'll talk about the winners as we go through here. But her speech, I think, was not just a great win, but a great show moment. Certainly, I think one of the most in next year when we're talking about the Emmys, we'll remember that more than a lot of these winners, I would argue, probably. But
that's definitely up there in like top 10 like all-time speeches.
So that was a really competitive category, like we had talked about. I think you could have made a strong case for 4 different people to win, including Sheryl Lee Ralph. And we talked about this, and I think I definitely felt she would vote split with Janelle James, and that neither one of them would win.
And she beat her.
And she beat her, and it seemed like. Did you feel this? Like, I just felt like watching it, I was like, oh, of course she won. Like, it felt really obvious in hindsight that she won, like looking at it, the category, looking at her stature in the industry. She is incredibly beloved on the red carpet. I felt like I watched her, I think her and Laverne Cox in an interview, like in the pre-show, that I was like, oh, people just love Sheryl Lee Ralph. I think she got a star recently on the Walk of Fame, right? Was that or something? Or she did like some kind of ceremony I saw that was going viral. I'm like, everybody loves her. Like, of course she's going to win. And she seemingly knows a lot of people and has worked with almost everybody, because she's been an actor for decades. So it felt like a real obvious, like in hindsight, of course she won, compared to like Hannah Waddingham, who won last year and maybe had more competition this year from her own show, and Juno Temple and Sarah Niles. And then Janelle James, who is absolutely hilarious, stone cold funny on Abbott, but is a relative newcomer. And Hannah Einbinder, who I don't think will ever win an Emmy for playing Ava on Hacks, even though she's awesome. So I was like, of course Sheryl Lee Ralph won, but I think I had her in 4th place. So not what you want. But that was a great moment. Her speech was amazing, I thought.
Yeah, that was, I mean, they should have just ended the show right there.
It really could have. Honestly, like I think
everything after that was like super deflating. Nothing, like I felt bad for Brett having to follow her with his speech. But yeah, no, I said this on the live show, like I was talking to my friends over the weekend, like about the Emmys. I'm like, they don't care about this stuff at all. And I asked them, like, who would you vote for between Sheryl and Janelle? And they both said Sheryl. Like they think Janelle is like really funny, but they just love Barbara. And like she's like, Cheryl was also hilarious on the show.
She's
so and
very funny.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, like combined with like her stature, and this is her first Emmy nomination.
Right. And her speech is really actually legitimately good. Yeah. I mean, like better than all the, I would say like that speech was easily the best. I can't even think of another one that even came close to being as good. Like of these winners. Lizzo's maybe.
Yeah, Lizzo's was good. I mean, the other interesting thing was like what they like whose speeches they allowed to go long and whose they try to cut off, like Jennifer Coolidge's.
So Jennifer Coolidge was the one where I was like, I kind of felt like they were letting the people go long who people online like. So like Sheryl Lee Ralph was like, and they weren't going to cut her off. Lizzo obviously is like a big online fan base. Zendaya, I felt like Zendaya didn't even go over the top or anything with her speech, but they just let her go. And like, she gave a really nice speech. But like, yeah, like Jennifer Coolidge, I felt like they would have just not cut her off. Like they cut off like Matthew McFadden. I'm like, that's fine. I'm sure
people kind of get like 5 seconds.
Right. And Jason, I feel like, and like Brett Goldstein, I don't think they cut off really.
No, he just started cursing again.
Quinta Brunson, I don't think they cut off for her writing.
But Jennifer is popular online.
That was the one that really made me like scratch my head, because I was like, I don't know what they were thinking. Like, how do they play her off? But she did a great job, like dancing. I thought that was like, she made a moment out of it, but like,
yeah, it's weird. Always hard because like sometimes like they, when the winner tries to fight the music, then they keep talking, like Scott Frank or even like Stephen Colbert last year, like he just kept going.
Right.
And like they'll just it's like they have an underscore while they speak. But right. It seemed like in this case they were just like super persistent with Jen, and then it was just like you got to fold, and she did.
Yeah, that was strange. I thought, I don't know. And then like, yeah, that I think that ended up hurting a lot of the speeches. Not that the later speeches, like I said, were like going to be that compelling. I think people like Jason Sudeikis, I thought everyone was fine. Like, but they just didn't really feel like they had a lot of time.
I feel like we should just cover Limited right now, because it's like all chop and like no surprises at all.
No surprises. I ended up going, I think I got everyone right, but I had Lily James in and Amanda Seyfried won. I went down with the ship for Pam and Tommy, but Amanda Seyfried won. And you know what? Deserved winner. She was great on the show. I just thought that the transformation aspect of Lily James would have made it, get her in. But they just completely went chalk. White Lotus ended up with 10 Emmys, which we had talked about. It was what it was going to win after Creative Arts Emmys. Not a surprise at all.
All five.
Won all five. Mike White, I thought, was great. And I loved, Mike White is a really thoughtful, seemingly person. And I loved his speech when he was like, please don't cancel me now that I'm popular. I just thought it was great, because I was like, if you read a lot of his interviews around White Lotus, that was like a big concern with him, is like how, like why he was telling the story.
Like all his stuff has always been underappreciated.
Yes. And like, he's very much like, he's very aware of online discourse. And I think he's very aware of like the current climate of like everybody having a take. And so like, I love that he was just like, don't destroy me. And he will obviously, I'm sure, get canceled for White Lotus season 2 or whatever. We'll see. I could just see that happening.
I love that
he does have a target on his back, like he said.
He mentioned Survivor in his second speech for writing, but I was very offended that he did not mention The Amazing Race, because he was also on that twice. And I spoke to him because he was on The Amazing Race, like him and his dad, Mel. They raised to twice.
I have to say, when he was talking about Survivor, I was like, no, doesn't he mean Amazing Race? Because I so equate him to Amazing Race. I know he was on both, but I was like, I really think of Amazing Race first. But no, I thought those wins were fine. Murray Bartlett won. They were very expected, and it's very anticlimactic, I guess, because we were expecting these wins last year during the Emmys. Like Jennifer Coolidge, as we recall, got like a standing ovation last year.
We were just waiting to see if anyone can take them down, and no one came along.
Not even close.
So
that's limited series. Congratulations. For the variety and talk, we talked about this briefly, but everything chalk won except for Lizzo beating RuPaul. But John Oliver and SNL.
Yeah, and like we mentioned this on the live show, like it's interesting. Like it felt like Lizzo, from like your creative arts wins, like Lizzo and Black Lady Sketch Show both picked up wins.
Yes.
Over Drag Race and SNL respectively. So it felt like they were upset potential for both of them. And I think a lot of people were predicting Black Lady Sketch Show over SNL and not Lizzo over Drag Race. Although I think I saw some people predicting Lizzo, but yeah, it's interesting how like one happened, but the other didn't. Like they still went with SNL.
I honestly can't figure it out because like we said, they in every race this year, almost invariably, they went with the chalk pick. They could have gone with a new thing or something different, and they were just like, actually, we'll just do Ted Lasso again, or Jason again, or Gene again, or Succession again, or whatever it is. And that one category, when RuPaul has won 4 in a row, I believe, right? Is that right? Or is it 5 in a row, 4 in a row going in?
The show won 4 in a row, yeah.
And then doesn't win. I was just like, I don't understand. I mean, I would say maybe Lizzo is incredibly popular. I would say that probably had a lot to do with it. And Amazon having that show probably helped the visibility of it as well. Those were my 2 takeaways, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great win, and it's exciting to get a new winner in that category too, because there's not a lot of variety in that category either.
No.
Tor won 3 times, and yeah, The Voice and Drag Race won 4 times, and Top Chef has won once.
And Lizzo's speech was great, and that was another situation where the stage was weird because she was trying to get her big girls down, but they were like I don't even know where, in like another wing of the stage. They couldn't even come down. So it was just like a lot of her yelling.
They were like in the rafters.
For that. So she's now 2 away from an EGOT, Joyce. She needs an Oscar and a Tony.
But so you know who needs 1 to EGOT?
It's who?
Eminem.
Obviously.
We didn't even talk about this last week.
No. Yeah. Get Eminem a musical of 8 Mile. That's it. That's
8 Mile the musical.
That's such an easy win. That's such an easy win. How has nobody done this yet? Mount that. Somebody listening.
This is like my next goal in life. So yeah, we didn't talk about the 2 wins I really wanted this year, that and Chippendale.
Yes.
Rescue Rangers winning. So
that was great. Very good, very nice wins. They don't. I found that interesting that after all I know they air the Creative Arts Emmys like separately on FX or whatever, but like I found it weird that they didn't even mention any of those, like even like as like a hat tip at all during.
Well, they used to bring out the
guest
winners present, because if you recall, Cherry Jones presented writing to Jesse Armstrong in 2019 while she was Nan Pierce on Succession.
Yeah, not this year.
No.
So that was so we did limited series of variety. Congratulations to those winners. Great. If SNL wasn't going to lose this year, I don't think it's ever going to lose. I think it'll just continue on. If they do 2 more seasons or whatever it is, once Lauren is gone, they'll just like let it start losing, maybe, if it continues on.
It was just crazy because they clearly did not like the season at all.
It was a completely unmemorable season.
Yeah, and like it still won the award, the big one. So right. Yeah.
But. So that was limited. You want to do comedy or drama next?
We could do comedy because we've already been talking about it. So
the winners were for Jason Sudeikis for actor. Again, I feel like I don't know if he was the favorite going in. I think maybe it was
Bill. Bill was in first in the odds, and Jason was second.
So Bill was in first. This is the first time they'd gone against each other. Bill had won twice previously. Jason won previously. I felt like they were going to split the vote somehow, and then like either Martin Short or Steve Martin would win. I saw a lot of people actually picking Martin Short, which I thought would have made you happy as a Martin Short supporter.
It did. I mean, that did not surprise me at all because
as Steve Martin said though on the show, he's it's good because Marty can get jobs on TV, Joyce, not in movies.
Just like Angela Lansbury, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Jason wins. I just was like, I kind of got the sense that they were not as into Barry for this season.
Like, I mean,
which we knew, but they really weren't.
Barry's never winning a comedy series. We know that, right?
Right.
Yeah. It won 3 at Creative Arts, including editing, which is a big one. So yeah, I felt like this was less a reflection of their love for Bill Hader's performance, because he's won twice, so like they clearly like the performance, and Henry Winkler's won as well, but more a reflection of how much they're in the tank still for Ted Lasso.
I think that's part of it. I do think the 4 guys actually, they never released the votes, obviously, but I would not be surprised if you saw this. It would have been like, very, very close between those 4.
I mean, it was always like those 4, and then it's like, who's gonna be the other 2?
Right. But I feel like those 4, like if you're gonna pick if you're showing like winner results, it would be like Jason Sudeikis with like 26%. I'm gonna try to do math here, Joyce, on the fly. So this is gonna go great. 26% for like Jason Sudeikis, like 24% for like Bill Hader, like 17% for Steve Martin, and then 16% for Martin Short, and then the rest for the other guys. I don't know how much that equals, but you get the idea. But I think it'll be really close.
Yeah, I think that was just kind of like they're still in love with Ted, so we'll go with Jason. Like he was the reigning champion. It's also hilarious because as we discussed last week, so many people were like, it's a shame that voting is closed for Jason with what's been going on in the news.
Has there been stuff in the news about Jason and his?
You might have missed it in the mountains.
No.
So yeah, there. I was shocked he was not served on stage tonight. So let's just.
I saw one of the sites made a joke about that. I think HuffPost had that in their headline.
But he was served with an Emmy instead, another one.
I guess I could see next year him winning again for season 3, and then whatever. I mean, he definitely would be the favorite, I feel like, going into this next year's Emmys, depending on the category. But if he was able to win for this year with, I think, a really strong Bill Hader and the Only Murders guys ascendant, and especially with season 2 airing during voting, then I think if Ted Lasso comes back next winter or whenever it comes back for season 3, it'll be fresher in voters' minds and actually continue his win. I think he would just. I'd feel more confident picking him next year than I would this year, even.
Yeah, like we don't know when it's coming back, so we don't know if it's going to be eligible for the Winter Awards, because I think that would be interesting, because like he's been amply rewarded too at the Winter Awards as well.
I think I get the sense it's not going to come back until like next year.
Yeah, me too. Like, so, I don't think it's like a fall thing.
So if it's not in the Winter Awards, then who would be up in the Winter Awards? Like Bill Hader versus Steve Martin and Martin Short?
Yeah.
And then Jeremy Allen White, maybe, if The Bear is a comedy.
If it's comedy. Yeah.
Which I think it should be, but we'll talk about that, I guess, at the end as we do like next year's Emmys. So that was actress Jean Smart won. That I felt like the most confident pick of the whole night. I did not think Quinta Brunson was going to win.
So there were so many Quinta Brunson picks.
There were, but I just didn't feel like that was going to happen.
Yeah, no, I stuck with Jean, and it didn't feel like, even though I had like Abbott in series, I didn't feel like the show was ever as big as Fleabag for her to pull a Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Right. And like we've talked about, the role is not a role that you would think of to win an Emmy, right? Because if you compare it to like Amy Poehler or like John Krasinski or whatever, it's like that kind of straight.
Yeah, no, it's like if she were like, I've said this in that, if she were to win, I can see her just being a one-time winner for that performance, kind of like Tina Fey for 30 Rock.
Right.
Like the auteur winning for a lead performance.
Right.
Like she's, like she's totally fine on the show. Like, but she's like mostly the straight woman. And I think spoiler alert, I watched the first 2 episodes of season 2 of Abbott Elementary today.
Wow.
So yeah. And it's, when's the embargo? What time is it? Oh, I mean, it's tomorrow, but it's like, yeah, the embargo's tomorrow, but it's fine.
We'll be fine.
No one's watching this anyway.
It's fine. ABC, you're fine.
Yeah. No, but there's a lot of Eagles and Flyers stuff I was not into, as you know. I can't support Philly teams. But yeah, like the plot lines obviously revolve around her, but it's still a lot of like straight woman stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've realized, I laugh a lot more at like the other characters.
Yeah, she's funny because it's funny like when they put her in
the fort. Like,
right. Yeah. Right. So anyway, that was that. And we talked about Sheryl Lee Ralph. That was a great win. a totally deserving winner. I felt that really good. And Brett Goldstein, I think, was a great winner too, but also like a default pick because, like we said, that category really didn't have a strong runner-up contender in my mind. I guess Henry Winkler was it, but it didn't feel like anything that was going to happen.
I had Brett this whole time. Remember when we were talking about like if Ted was going to win something,
it would just be Brett.
It would just be this, but no, it wins 4.
Right. Well, we knew it wasn't going to go. It didn't feel like an 0 for 20. It just felt like it would at least win Brett.
Yeah.
To me, the biggest one for comedy was it won directing. I know we've talked about this a little, not just because Bill Hader was seemingly such an obvious winner there, but it just didn't feel like, I don't know. I could have made the case for, I think I had Ted in 4th maybe in my picks because I thought even though Only Murders had 2, I think The Boy from 6B is like a real remarkable achievement, and The Hacks is the finale, I believe, right? Is it There Will Be Blood as the finale or the premiere? I forget.
It's the premiere because Lucia,
right, the finale was the writing, right? But all of those I thought were going to be better than Ted, and it was actually 5th in our odds, Ted, for No Weddings and a Funeral.
I mean, we've talked about this since last year. Like, there's nothing particularly like remarkable about like
not visually.
It's better directed than like Schitt's Creek, which also won directing.
I also thought too that I think the notable thing about No Weddings and Funeral is it's definitely like the best acted episode.
Yeah,
I wonder if that like, helped MJ Mullane win.
Yeah, and it didn't get multiple nominations this time, so that helped it obviously. Right.
MJ Delaney, not Mulaney. I said Mulaney.
Yeah, so it was like I felt like if it wasn't gonna go to the series winner, which at the time I had Abbott, which wasn't nominated here, then I was like, oh, I'm free to like support Bill.
Right.
But like the runner up in my mind was Ted. So like,
makes sense. I mean, once Barry won editing, I know it's not like the same thing, but I was just like, it just felt like it wouldn't directing. I just was surprised he didn't win.
Yeah, I mean, it's still different branches, and it's right. Like, the directing branch, they just really default to the series frontrunner unless it's a triple vote split situation.
Right.
So that happened to Ted last year, and it didn't have that situation this year.
So Ted won 4 of its awards here.
Yeah, and then so like if Abbott had won series, it would have been the first show since The Office to win without a directing nomination, and the first show under this system to win without one either. So like no show under this system has won without both directing and writing nominations.
Right. So something to think about for next year, I guess.
I think next year it'll get into directing and a bunch of other stuff.
I think Abbott will get like at least 17. Yeah,
well, that was our other worry, right? Because like I think we both were kind of not reluctant, but we were like wary of predicting Abbott for series, even though we obviously discussed it a lot over the summer, like post noms, because it clearly had no below the line support. Like besides casting,
it had no below the line support, but it had like a lot of affection, I think, certainly.
Yeah, and it was just kind of like trying to figure out like how much people were catching up on it since nominations, and like I think they were, but
I definitely think it was a close second. I mean, like I do feel like it was the runner-up. Again, based on the room doesn't matter, but like clearly the room was very in the tank for Abbott, and so like if those people in the room are voting for Emmys, they really love the show. Maybe not enough to afford over Ted Lasso though. So. And then drama Joyce. I mean, we ate well tonight as a Succession fan because Succession
fucking win. So
that's it.
Whole fucking beast.
Just the best. Wins series, wins writing. Totally. I was not surprised by either. Definitely not the writing, but also the series.
No, like it was like funny to hear people like doubting the series win.
Yeah, we talked about this a lot. There was never a clear runner-up. Squid Game won 6 awards, I guess, and so did Euphoria. But the fact that they both won 6 awards, to me, shows that there was not a strong runner-up.
No, and Euphoria also didn't have writing or directing.
Even though Succession only won, I think, 4 awards, right? For the whole
it won 4 because it won casting.
So those shows, neither one of them had enough to like, I don't think there was a consensus around either to beat down a Succession. I assume Squid Game was like the runner-up. But I think Euphoria was pretty close to Squid Game. I honestly do. The way it responded below the line.
Yeah, and like I was like, I was like, I think, because I only had Squid Game winning for Lee Jung-jae, and I was like, I think it's gonna win two. I don't think I know some people had it sweeping all the acting or all three acting categories. I was like, I don't think it's doing that. But then I was like, I can't decide if it's gonna win directing or supporting actress, and I picked the wrong one.
I
And
got
had
all of them
Julia
wrong.
Garner.
I got every Squid Game win I had wrong because I picked Bob Odenkirk for Best Actor. My thinking was we knew that I think we all knew that like Jeremy and Brian Cox were going to split the vote and not win. So then you're left with like Lee Jung-jae, and I felt like Bob Odenkirk because the support for him as a human being, and then the final season of Better Call Saul, even though next season he could still win for next season or next year's Emmys, obviously. But I don't think he will, because I think people are going to forget about the show. I could see him not even getting nominated next year, honestly, because I think it's going to be so far out of sight, out of mind.
This was its chance.
This was his best chance to win. And like Lee Jung-jae and Bob Odenkirk had not faced off in the winter, so I was like, maybe this will be it. But no, Lee Jung-jae won, which is an expected winner and like kind of obvious in the hindsight. And then for directing, I was like, Squid Game will finish second to Severance and Ben Stiller. Nope. And then I put what's her supporting actress in there. Yes, and instead of Julia Garner, I had Julia Garner in second. So
yeah, I would have gotten two more right if I just kept Julia Garner and switched to Squid Game in directing instead of supporting actress. Because I had Julia Garner this whole time. So I went by my or I guess like my TED logic was what I sort of applied to, or I don't know what I'm saying, but like my Julia Garner logic was like that race was so it seemed like it could go so many different ways that I was like, they'll just give it to her again.
I do think like that ended up being like a theme for all this. All these like we talked about this when we did our final picks. You could make the case like all of these races were like pretty close, and in the end they just went with like the default pick, except for I would say Sheryl Lee Ralph and Matthew McFadden were like the two winners here, where I was like, they actually paid attention.
It's kind of like fascinating how we got those two inspired wins early
right
on,
away,
and then it just got really boring at the end.
I was thrilled with those, and then everything just was chalk. Matthew McFadden, we talked about this, you mentioned this like way early, just that it was like the type of performance that would win an Emmy and nothing else.
Yeah, basically. And I didn't even predict him, so
I can't believe you didn't predict
him. For my theory, because like I've said that since last year.
Yes, I predicted him the whole time. I never went back to Kieran.
Like no one else will give an award except
no. But I was like, it's interesting to me that they clearly, for him to have won, I think they have to be paying attention to the show.
Yeah, I mean, we know they like the show. We know,
and they're paying attention to it. But at the same time, then like, I don't know, Julia Garner wins. I just feel like some of these are such chalk. But I'm like, if they're paying such close attention to Succession, that Matthew McFadden wins over Kieran Culkin, who's a much flashier.
I mean, in this case, like like love him, but Nick was not winning.
So nice suit though. Tonight.
Oh my god, so many white suits tonight.
Yeah, what was that? I guess is it like, are we like,
a lot of white suits and a lot of sculpted hair?
Fighting against the man by doing white after Labor Day? Is that a thing now?
But yeah, like this was a case of, I felt like Matthew and Kieran were both like too far ahead, like sort of like Jeremy and Brian 2 years ago, that it like one of them was just gonna win.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the others, I don't know, like Squid Game also had like, potential vote split with, so my other thing that I believe I've mentioned on here before, but they did not properly alphabetize the Squid Game.
We've talked about this a lot, I think, in our Slacks, but a lot of people have a tough time with this.
Yeah. So I mean, I first noticed this on the ballots. So the Pachinko actors were alphabetized correctly, but not the Squid Game actors. So at the time I didn't know if that was just like a clerical thing, but whoever submitted their forms for entry. But then they did the same thing with the nominations. And now when they were like tonight, when they were reading all the nominees, I was like, no, Park Hae-soo goes after Matthew McFadden because Park is his last name, not Hae-soo.
Yes.
So Asian naming system in Chinese and Korean culture, last name first, and then your first name.
That's right.
And pro tip, Asian last names like mine, monosyllabic. Usually people's first names, it's 2 syllables. So just remember that if you have trouble figuring it out. So Park
Good,
Hae-soo,
good.
Park is his last name, Hae-soo is his first name. Lee
Right.
Jung-jae, Lee's his last name, Jung-jae is his first name.
Right.
So
Ho Young.
yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, that like really bothered me that they fucked that up.
they did not. Yeah, it was rough. Do you think that's a Netflix thing? Maybe it's how they like put him in.
But it's still like,
Because like you said,
that's
Pachenko had it
just
right.
like their last names are Park and O.
Right.
Like Oh Young-soo should not be going after Christopher Walken.
No. What
But
else there?
I don't even know, but we're on that category. And then yeah, Julia Garner. Yeah, I mean, you know, at least Ray Seahorn was nominated finally.
Yeah, once she lost, I was like, I guess Bob's probably not gonna win, honestly.
And then yeah, Zendaya.
Zendaya over Melanie Linsky. It felt like an upset, honestly, even though Zendaya was the favorite the entire time and was a reigning champ and had the best episode of any of these actors. But it did feel like an upset because I think the campaign for Melanie Linsky was really strong. And I think
Yeah, but I think like they like I think she was always, I mean, I didn't have her, but I was just like not gonna move from Melanie Linsky. I was like, I'll just get this wrong. Like I don't care.
I do think it kind of solidified for me watching it when, like you said, I think either here or earlier, who knows, Joyce, we've been talking for so long. But when Keenan was like when Keenan like dinged Yellow Jackets for being on Showtime, I was like, no one watches this show, or Showtime does not have the reach, I don't think, as some of these other networks do, certainly, like HBO.
No. And
so that helps.
Yeah, and Zendaya is the first person to repeat in the lead categories under the system.
Right.
So
it'll be interesting to see. So like, I mean, that's it. Do you want to, I mean, we can start talking about like, it'll be interesting to see like next year, like Yellow Jackets will be back. So like, presumably Melanie Linsky will get nominated again without Zendaya there, without Laura Linney there. She'd have to be like an early favorite, I would say, to win for season 2, sight unseen, just based on the competition.
Yeah, because this category is emptying out because Zendaya will be ineligible.
Right.
Jodie and Sandra are gone. Reese, they like morning show just started filming, so they won't be back. Yeah, I mean, maybe, but I mean, they take a really long time to shoot. So
yeah, it seems like
I'm guessing they won't be back. I can see another fall premiere for it next year.
Right. So it'll be like Melanie Linsky and a bunch of people we don't know yet, basically.
The Crown.
Right.
Imelda Staunton.
Right. So she'll win, not Melanie Linsky.
Yeah, Yellow Jackets. Yeah, it went 0 for 7. It didn't win. I felt like its best chance actually was for casting, not for Melanie, and it didn't win casting.
That was maybe a sign too that she was not going to win. I took it as a sign. I switched to Euphoria after that because for Melanie. I mean for Zendaya.
Because it's on Showtime, you know. So
yeah,
can't find it.
Otherwise, everything. I mean, that like we said, like Jesse Armstrong for writing, Squid Game for directing.
3 for 3. It's perfect. So and unlike Matthew Weiner, all of his wins are solo.
Right.
So.
And that's it. And then we're done. That was the Emmys, Joyce. So congratulations to the winners, I guess. I don't know. I got nothing else. I was very happy Succession won. And I guess surprised that Ted Lasso won, even though I think in hindsight it was not a surprise. So do you want to look ahead quickly to next year? So The Crown, that would be in there.
It was a big week for Successions, as Jesse said.
That was so hack and like so tortured.
And then Brian was like, stop.
Brian was like, wrap it up, buddy. And Sarah Snook had this face of just like, she was just like frozen in cringe. She was just like,
just incredible. It was just like a regular Roy family meeting. So
it was Jeremy up there just looking so sullen.
Can't believe he's not wearing brown. My God, what's coming to the world?
He's been busy, Joyce. He's all over my favorite movie, Armageddon time.
I know.
Get him an Oscar. Let's get Jeremy an Oscar nomination. I feel like that could happen. We'll talk about that later this week.
Couldn't do it for Chicago 7, so
he's way better in this than Chicago 7. It's so much better. But he doesn't say ensorcelled in this like he does in Chicago 7. So maybe that's like a demerit. So The Crown will be back. The one show I felt like a couple of shows got like the Jennifer Coolidge Emmy 2021 treatment, I guess. Which were The Bear, I felt like was the big one for Iowa Berry and Jeremy Allen White. Still seemingly, is that a comedy or a drama?
I don't think they've decided.
I think it could probably do better in comedy, but maybe it actually
I
wouldn't
think
based on how
it
Barry
will
did.
probably suffer the Barry fate in comedy.
Right. You know what? It's not as dark as Barry, though. I don't think.
They're different.
Different
because,
kind
like,
of dark.
Barry is more absurd. Like, I think I laugh out more at Barry than I do at the Bear.
I love the Bear. I don't think I laughed at it once.
No, and it's like it has like, I don't know. It's like some of its funny moments. It's like, oh, like we drug children, like,
Right.
at parties.
Or what's his
like,
face?
okay.
My boy Avon Moss Bacharach being like calling out the 4chan Snyder bros in the pilot. That's funny.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, that's a good one, and then like we're moving on.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like they have not decided what to do there yet. But I think that would do really well regardless of, in terms of nominations, regardless.
I think
of
in whatever category it's in, I think it'll get multiple nominations. Certainly.
Yeah, because like people, it was a breakout hit for FX and this summer, and we know people are watching it. The industry is watching it. I talked to one of the Only Murders editors, and she said she was like catching up on the show because everyone was telling her to watch it. So
nice. So you'll have that. We'll have Only Murders again, obviously. Ted Lasso, presumably. Atlanta final season, maybe.
or just like Donald Glover.
Right. The Crown. What else?
The Crown. So after the events of last week, everyone was just like, Imelda's locked for every foreseeable award.
Sure. I mean, why not?
I
guess we'll see how much will it be a situation. I mean, we could have a repeat, I guess, of Olivia Colman beating Emma Corrin, but I was like really psyched for Elizabeth Debicki as Princess Diana, and I feel like this new season, based on the timeline, will have to focus very strongly on Princess Diana.
It's interesting because The Crown does better with its even number seasons, because it feels like they need like they need a year to get used to like the new cast or something.
Right.
And season 4 also benefited from COVID because it had like no competition last year.
Right.
It swept. So this is season 5. So I was always like, Imelda's gonna win for season 6 because they win in the even years.
I mean, that could be right. Maybe Melanie wins next year and they split the vote between Princess Diana. I mean, we'll have to see. The other shows
go back to back. Like it could be
true. Okay. The other show that got a big push, I felt like, on the show was Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power.
Yeah, so that was the other thing they did. Certain shows just got like
promo,
30-second promo in the theater before the actors came out to present.
Very strange. It reminded me of the screens. It reminded me of like a Comic-Con, when they have like the big screens up, like that's what it looked like in the room. And they were playing them all on like this one thing on all the same TVs or whatever, basically. It just was like very, again, weird production choices. But Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power seemingly would be a big contender next year, and House of the Dragon while we're doing dragon stuff. Is there dragons in Rings of Power? I'm assuming there is.
I don't know. I have no idea. There's rings, I guess. There's Rings of Power.
Yeah, true.
I think like they'll both obviously clean up the text.
Right.
I guess it's like, I mean, at this point, I'll say like both will get into series, but I don't think right now like either of them will win.
I mean, if it's going to be like The Crown, the two, Lord of the Rings and House of the Dragon, and then like, whatever, Severance season 2 and Yellow Jacket season 2, I think Crown would probably win.
I mean, Severance is starting shooting in the fall, so I don't know if that'll.
I thought they were shooting it already. It seems like.
No, they haven't started yet. I mean, Succession is shooting, so Succession could also be back in time.
Right. If Succession is back, that would be pretty fun, because then you have Succession, The Crown.
Yeah, so Succession beat The Crown last time.
Right.
The Crown won in the absence of Succession.
Right.
And Succession just won again in the absence of The Crown. So.
Right. Those are the big ones, I guess, coming back. I was thinking, so Succession has wins for Jeremy, Matthew.
Of the main cast.
And
then Charity for guest.
So we still need Kieran to get an Emmy, Sarah to get an Emmy, and Brian.
As we've discussed, we don't know if Sarah
probably won't. But Brian's got to win the next one. That's my thing.
Brian's got to win. Yeah, Brian and Roman can win, or Brian and Kieran can win
Right.
next year. I know, because like, the other thing with Succession was like, if Matthew hadn't won, it would have gone over 14 with its record-breaking 14 acting nominations.
Incredible.
But that was why I was like, I think it'll win supporting actor. Like I felt that was the safest category.
We had that picked. That was the one. So, I mean, that's, I guess, anything else here? I'm trying to look like what else would be up for next year.
Well, Better Call Saul, it's final.
Right.
6 episodes. I think I'll get nominations, but it's not gonna win any.
I don't think it would either, because I feel like it just should have. If it was going to win anytime,
Yeah,
this was the year.
This was their time to win
Yeah.
something, and they knew it because they acted like it. They campaigned their ass off.
Right.
And you know, the final couple episodes aired, you know, overlapped with voting too. So I hope, like, you know, Ray can get back in next year. I don't know what their memory is like, because
I think it's not going to be good, but then at the same time, Ted Lasso just won 4 awards on
I know,
Primetime.
but like Ted won last year. Like it's
Right.
it's like, you know, Better Call Saul is like a reliable nominee for them, but they just like never give it the win. So I don't know. I can see just like Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston like getting into guest and like
Right. That would be it. That's it, Joyce. That's all we got, I guess. That was the Emmys. What a time. We'll be back maybe sporadically here to talk about the Emmys, but we'll shift to the Oscars.
Well,
later
there's
this week.
winter TV awards.
Sure. We got to worry about those SAG awards and stuff. Yeah. Big time.
I
Critics'
mean,
Choice
like,
Awards.
the thing about the Emmys or the TV calendars is that, you know, the Emmys are separate from the winter stuff.
Right.
So you still have different winners and different face-offs. So it's still interesting, unlike Oscar season when everything is on the same calendar.
It is tough because the whole Emmys is structured that way. So like with the in memoriam, Joyce, we were talking about this, like Norm Macdonald was not in the in memoriam this year because he was in it last year because he died right before the Emmys last year.
Yeah. So the Emmys, this year's Emmys was held a week earlier because it's normally the 3rd Sunday in September.
Yes.
So last year's Emmys was on Sunday, September 19th, and Norm Macdonald died on September 14th last year. So he was
stuck him in.
Ad.
He was. So this year people were online with their fingers typing away, being like, what a sham. No Norm Macdonald.
You could just Google that.
But he was in there.
You know
he
what?
was in there the year
Go on the Wikipedia page because they list everyone in the in memoriam every single year. Just why don't you check that first? Check when he died. Check last year's show.
Very easy. Google's great.
Easy before you tweet.
Joyce, were you upset the Queen didn't make it? The Queen, like this, like Helen Mirren style.
No.
Yeah. R.I.P. to the Queen, I guess. Joyce, we'll do this again later this week. It's time for bed. It's almost 1:00 now. So great stuff. Talk to you later. Bye.